All right, welcome to Simple Healthy Life, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations on topics that we find interesting. And today, MJ, I want to start with a little story. I had this kind of interesting thought, and I want to riff upon this a bit. So I was talking with my therapist. Yes, I have a therapist. I like the space. His name is Mitch, and he must be 60s. He's just an old guy named Mitch, and that basically describes exactly his therapeutic style.
All right.
Yeah. But anyways, so I was talking with him, and we were talking, or I was talking more so about how I never had the language for emotion when I was younger, right? Like no one ever was like, "Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling nervous? Are you feeling sad? Are you happy?" There was no emotional language. And so the feelings that I felt were just there. There was no like, I'm feeling anxiety right now. Now the whole kind of like strategy that I kind of bring up often of like labeling emotions. And I remember throughout a lot of my childhood, my sister acting quite strange. At least that's the only way I could have thought of it. She would be very socially anxious. Exactly how she was acting, like very socially anxious, to a degree that it was overt to someone near her, right? And I always thought that was kind of weird. I never understood it. Right? I never understood why she was acting that way, and it was never a topic of conversation. Like, yeah, well, your sister, she's 6 years older than me. Your sister is feeling anxiety, and this is what happens when you feel anxiety. There was nothing ever like that. So I never quite understood it, and also never quite understood how I felt in those moments either, until I was probably like late teens, 18, 19, 20 was probably when I first started recognizing that, hey, those are a thing. Like someone to feel anxiety or guilt or shame or whatever, like those are things. And what got me thinking about it too was that, I had to learn that, and I had to label these emotions, and I had to construct a degree of emotional intelligence from level zero, essentially. And the amount of understanding that arises from that, from the acquiring of emotional intelligence, understanding other people, understanding how the human mind works in some way, understanding how emotions work in some way, is really, really helpful. On the flip side, I also speak with many younger kids now who have access to this language, who they go on TikTok, and there's all these videos on like, I have ADHD because I can't focus. Like here's 3 reasons why you have ADHD too. And, like providing all this language for what they're feeling, yet it might be overload. It might be overload. I'm feeling anxiety. I'm an anxious person. I'm this, I'm that. And so instead of labeling the emotion, oftentimes I'm talking with kids who label themselves as the emotion. I'm not a person feeling anxiety. I am an anxious person, right? And it had me thinking, that's quite dangerous too. And so I was on one side of the spectrum where there was no language for the emotion, and I'm seeing a lot of younger folks who are on the other side where there's too much language for everything that's going on, and everything is pathologic. To feel an emotion is pathologized in many ways now. Pathologize, it's a weird dichotomy. It's pathologized as in this is bad, but it's also thrown on a totem as like a defining criteria of individuality. I have this bad thing, but that's what makes me different. And that's also very dangerous. So I'm curious as to like your thoughts and like how you grew up and like, what you think about that, the language of emotion.
So as you were talking, I was thinking about, well, I'll talk about a little bit about how I grew up secondarily. But I was thinking this is a kind of a perfect example of like the pendulum of history, right? And it's a kind of maybe I'm making a leap here for a lot of the audience, but the generation before us and the generation before that were essentially taught that your emotions were your own, your mental health was your own. This is the things the challenge that you have, you deal with. That's what you do. That's what we do, right? Especially as men, that's just what we do. Emotions are for women, right? These are kind of themes throughout history. I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. I'm saying that's what they are. And now, as we move into this new state where everybody has ADHD, everybody could be labeled as this, show emotion and it's this, we go to this other end of the spectrum, and that's what you're talking about here, where it's like, oh, let's really dive down and understand like what the emotion is, and let's label it so that we can attack it and go after it or whatever. So we've kind of swung, right? And now we're so connected that we can see other people with these examples of, oh, this is how I feel, or let me look that up. Oh, there's millions of people that feel this way, right? We go this way. But what I think the missing piece is neither part is talking about what to do about it. Like neither part ever really gets down to the, how are you going to, now that we've labeled it, now that we understand it, now that we can bring it up and feel socially acceptable to talk about it, get a therapist, what do we do about it? What do we do when we feel anxiety or emotion or these unwanted or difficult challenges, especially as younger people? Right? We're teaching them that they have ADHD, right? And then we all know from listening to the podcast my thoughts on pharmaceuticals and the quick fix, right? The easy, oh, your son or daughter has this, we're going to put them on this, and then they'll feel differently, right? Or what is what's the term for antidepressant drugs now? What's that called? Well, it'll come to me. But essentially, like, okay, I'm showing signs of this. Let's go on that, right? But what we're missing is, how do we effectively talk about it so you actually know how to process your emotion? So as I remember growing up, I was definitely asked and talked to about how I feel, but I was never anything more than fine. And I think we've talked about this before. Like, I hate the word fine. And I know that's something that my mom uses all the time. Like, I'll give a quick story right now. My mom's husband is essentially coming towards end of life. She's working through all of these processes and, up to and including hospice and all that stuff. And if I called her right now and put her on speakerphone and I asked her how she was feeling, she would be fine. And if I called her 6 months ago and, she's getting ready to go on vacation and I asked her how she was feeling, she would be fine. And that's how I grew up. So I notice it now, even for myself, when Corey asked me, how are you today? Fine. Right? That's how I was raised. Everything's fine. I'm going to be fine. If it's bad, I'll push through it and I'll be fine. If it's good, it's fine. So that's my own story around it. So you didn't have any language. I had one word.
Right.
Fine.
Right. Yeah. Which is essentially no language, right?
Which is essentially no language. And if you think about the language that we use as a society, I was thinking about this too when you were talking. Why have we normalized our greeting to essentially, how are you today? Good. How you feeling? Good. What's up? Nothing. Nothing. Like, hey man, what's good? Nothing. Right? It's like we've normalized this greeting and we hear it all day. Everybody that you talk to, hey, how are you? Good. It's just this like standard response. And it's like we've actually taken that and like moved it into our normal society. It's like the anti of what we're trying to accomplish today.
Right. Yeah. where we just, everything is status quo. And, on one hand, it's probably a good thing for things to feel good, right? Like, how's it going? It's good. There's probably a good thing, although, to the point that you made about, we have all these words now to discuss everything, and you kind of alluded to the fixing of an emotion, right? And we're very tethered to this idea that, oh, I have this problem of anxiety or this problem of depression or this problem of anger, and I have to fix this right now. What is it that I can do right now to fix this? Because this doesn't feel good. And that logic alone is very flawed, because there is no fixing that. There is utility in those emotions to begin with, but there's no fixing anything. And that's the problem that we come up against with when it comes to like some therapeutic modalities or some medication regimens, is that the idea is, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk about this thing so that I fix my anxiety, or so that I treat my depression, or so that I, never feel anger again, or whatever it is. But it's very dangerous, because this is a never-ending cycle.
Well, the SSRIs is the word I was looking for. They're proving now that you can take SSRIs for as long as you want, and then when you're done, it's not going to have done anything. You're not going to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not, you're like, oh, I took them for 2 years and now I don't have depression anymore. Like, it doesn't work that way. That's literally proven. Yeah. So what can we do? Like what are the things that we can do to start the process of understanding how to grow your emotional intelligence and improve it?
Yeah, well, I think you just said it. We have to begin to understand, right? At least as far as that's helped me a lot, right? Just the understanding, like making space for this. What does that mean? There's a lot of like cliche terms that come out, but we'll try to avoid those, like make space and whatever, because I think people need to know what that actually process. What does that even mean? What does it mean to process something, right? But a good example is this. I've shared this example a number of times, but it's such a good one. I don't know why I like it so much. But I was talking with someone one time, and they're like, I went to the grocery store, and man, I'm a frustrated person when I go through this grocery store, and I don't blame them at all. Ever go to Market Basket? It's crazy. It's wild in there. It's
Sunday afternoon. No, not anymore. I don't.
Yeah, because it's a madhouse, and it is super frustrating, right? But the way the language that the person used was very pathologic. I'm a frustrated person. I don't want to be that way anymore. And to me, it was highlighted in my mind, because this person was struggling with the fact that they were feeling an emotion, a very functional, rational emotion, in an environment that elicits that emotion. And so, of course, you're going to feel frustration in that environment. Everyone is. If you feel complete peace in Market Basket, that's a little odd. It's kind of weird, right? Granted, like, if you go in with the intention, I'm going to be like Zen master today, and I'm just going to breathe, and that's one thing.
Until someone hits you with the back of the cart.
Yeah, exactly. Or you got the lady on the phone who stops right in the middle of the aisle and just doesn't have no spatial awareness, But you should feel that. You should feel that. And to be someone who is emotionally intelligent doesn't mean that you feel peace at all times. It means that you recognize what you're feeling and you don't respond to that in a way that is detrimental, self-detrimental.
So it's funny that you started by saying, I think you want to use the words make space.
I do.
But it's become cliche.
Yeah.
Right? But one of the answers is to essentially make space.
Yeah.
Make space between your understanding of your frustration and your response to your frustration. Now, the good thing is we are most of the time emotionally intelligent enough to recognize and become aware of the emotions, but so many people aren't, right? So many people, when you see them in Market Basket, and you can literally see them having this nervous breakdown right there, waiting for their deli counter, and someone cuts them, and you can see them actually have the freak out moment. They don't even know that they're freaking out. The kudos to the person that realized that they were frustrated when they go there, because I think there's a lot of people that just come home after they went to Market Basket and they're still on edge, anxious, frustrated, and they take it out on the next person that they see. What'd you do today? I had to go to Market Basket, right? Like they're carrying around this frustration with them because they're not aware.
Right.
So once we become aware, which is just, difficult to do, then we do have to make space. And can we make space? I think that when we do make the space, it's almost like a magic trick. It's like it lowers the level of frustration, anxiety, anger, challenge, that it doesn't go away. It's still in there. You're still standing in aisle 7 looking for whatever you're looking for. But you can say to yourself, like, all right, you know what I do know about this environment is that I'll be out of here in 15 minutes. I know I only have 11 things left on my list to get, and then I can go.
Right.
And I think, as much as it is cliche to say, that making space is something that the audience can take away and say to themselves, when I am feeling, because I am not an anxious person, I just feel anxiety. When I'm not an easily frustrated person, I just get frustrated in certain areas, I can make space.
Right.
I have just a really funny example. It's stupid, but Corey and I travel a lot. And one thing that drives me insane is when you go to get your bags and the people stand there with their whole family right in front. There's like 4-year-olds that are not going to help you get the bags, all in front. And for forever, I would like, I don't know what my problem. Like, I'm either getting to where I'm going or leaving, and I'm like, like it was
Just move.
Just you're just bothering me. Like it's so weird. And like I would even, true story. I would even like stand in the back. And then, like, intentionally, when my bag went, I would wait until it was in front of them, and then I would, like, cut in front of them and, like, get my bag and, like, make them move.
This is what happens.
Yeah. Like, get out of my way.
Your
Like,
4-year-old gets tossed on the ground.
It's so stupid. But I, like, one day, Corey brought it to my attention. She's like, you kind of always suck in this environment. I'm like, I do. I was just not aware that was something that really bothered me. Now I know that it bothered me, and I'm not bumping anybody out of the way anymore, for the most part. Maybe. But I'll stand back and I'll just wait and I'll say, okay, I'm going to get my bags whether they're standing there or not. But it was a many times that it would like really get to me.
Right.
And I just wasn't aware. I didn't realize that this was like this. I think there's probably some level of anxiety, like, oh, my bag's coming. Did they lose them? I want to get out of here. We just traveled. I'd like to get my stuff so I can go home or to the place. I'm in a hurry. All of these things. But I would take it out as, these people are in my way, and they're stupid for standing there, and they don't need to be standing there. There should be a line around this thing so everybody can see what you're doing. Lots of thought here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's just another example of becoming aware and then making space.
Well, imagine this now. So this is a one-off example at the airport. It's not very common, but imagine you have a situation in which that happens every day. You have this period of time in which you respond in a frustrated, anxious way due to feeling frustrated and anxious, and then you start to say, I guess I am a frustrated, angry, anxious person. And then that's where the narrative comes in, and that's where the identity comes in. And this is so dangerous. This is why we one of the previous episodes, I brought up the point that I really, really strongly dislike the phrase, that's just who I am. Because you know what, that same situation, the airport situation, had you found a similar event that happened on a daily basis, guess what? Many people are going to say, well, that's just who I am. You know, I'm just a person. I'm gonna knock your kid off on the ground, and I'm going to tell you to get out of the way because that's just who I am. And they own it. They own it like it's serving to them. When you know that's not serving, it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't help your situation in the slightest. Right? Same thing. Then you take that, I'm an angry, frustrated, anxious person, and then the boss comes and gives you some tough news. Like, hey, you know, you got to pick up the slack here. You're like, you know, everyone's been coming to me and, you know, you've got some real problems with your work, and here are the reasons why, and you know, we'll help support you through this. And then no, this is not me. This is someone else, and blah 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 blah. And you act as if you're that person. You're the frustrated, angry person, and it comes out automatically because and then it hampers your ability to interact in that situation with your boss in a respectful, self-serving way. Even if you wanted to tell the boss to go F off, right? It's not helpful. Certainly not. I mean, maybe after some thinking, maybe you're treated really poorly, and you want to, you know, tell them to go F off, and you think that maybe there's utility to that. Sure, but for the most of the time, that's not going to be the answer that is actually helpful to you, and that's all it is taking care of you in general, and making sure that you're not being driven by these narratives of being a particular way when you're not that way. You're just feeling that way in certain situations. And the ability to cultivate an awareness of emotion, I am feeling frustrated right now, is much, much different than I'm a frustrated person.
Interesting. So as you were speaking, I was thinking about, we are so good at this, like teaching our kids and in our teaching right and wrong, right? Like, okay, that's right, that's wrong. Well, for me, it's not right to stand in front of everybody else with your family of 7, right? Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean it's not right for them.
Right.
So when I say, okay, that's wrong. Now, how do I respond when I see somebody that is doing something wrong, right? Like, I used to bump them out of the way. No, sometimes, not all the time. But I would say to myself, like, all right, that's wrong. I'm in the right for going over and kind of like moving over. Or like, here's a great example. You're driving in the fast lane, and the person in front of you is doing 55 miles an hour. That's wrong, right? The speed limit's 65. That's supposed to be for passing only, right? So what do? Do you drive up get right up behind them, right? Or like, how many times have people like gone right around and then like cut them off and like showed them, or you know, hey, now like get close to the car and then drive away, right? Or like,
it's your job to teach them they're wrong.
Yeah, right. Like, but really, the question is simply, why? Why is what I'm seeing bothering me this way? Mm-hmm. And what is the emotion I'm feeling? Am I scared? Am I anxious? Am I frustrated? Am I annoyed? You know, there's a bazillion to the start of the podcast, right? There's a million words we have now for this. Mm-hmm. But okay, when I feel scared, I respond this way. When I feel angry, I respond this way. But when I feel disappointed, I respond differently. When I'm sad, I respond a certain way. But recognizing that and asking yourself, why?
Right.
Why am I about to cut this person off? Right. And I mean, I gave kind of an example, which I think is hilarious, because let's face it, we've all at some point been in the fast line driving 55, like spaced out, not paying attention, right? Just something that everybody has done. But as soon as you see somebody else do it, you're like, oh, stupid jerk, you know, like
I've never done this in my life.
Ever. I'm a perfect driver in the third lane only. And then when I pass, I move over and then I move back. Everybody knows this, right? You see someone else do it, you're like, oh, fucking son of a, right? It's the craziest thing. thing. It's like a million examples of that.
And that's a great example too, because every response that we normally have, the swerving over rapidly and then cutting them off, or the getting right up on them, doesn't serve us in any particular way. There's no utility there. It's not self-serving. It doesn't help you. It doesn't do anything. It only serves to endanger yourself. You can judge the risks there, but that situation, if you had noticed, I'm feeling really angry about this right now, and you just take a moment to create the space between the emotion and the reaction being the swerving and angry driving, and the emotion being obviously anger. If you kind of sit in that space before the reaction, you start to notice, I guess it would be kind of dumb to swerve,
Yeah.
and I guess this is kind of frustrating, but people are like that sometimes. Maybe he or she or whatever is a really bad driver, but it doesn't really matter. You have to solve your situation in a way that makes sense, and you start to realize that happens all across your day in the smallest of ways, right? Most people don't take care of themselves because of their poor emotional awareness and regulation, right? And you act in every specific. We are emotional creatures, so there's no getting around the fact that emotions are popping up, and they may not make perfect sense, but they are there. But you can still control to some degree what is done in response to them, and that's the point.
Marcus Aurelius, first of all, nobody has ever taught me the lesson. They've cut me off and drove up on my butt, and I still have never learned. I still accidentally mess up.
It's like, hey, I'm having a peaceful day, buddy. You screw up.
Yeah, go away. I want to do 55, and my power if I want to. But I'm going to totally misquote this, so it's not the quote, but maybe the idea, right? Marcus Aurelius, we've talked about the meditations and that stuff. And this is a guy that was the leader of the world, the most powerful man on the planet. And what he talked about was recognize when you wake up in the morning that you're going to interact and encounter ignorance, people that are simply angry, upset, cruel, frustrated, and how you rise above that is essentially his terminology, right? How do you rise above that and recognize it's going to happen? And you said it best. It's happening throughout your entire day in many different ways. And I bet there's a lot of people out there that are like, actually, there is one scenario that keeps coming up every single day for me where I feel a certain way, and it just makes me angry at somebody or at the event or at this thing, and they haven't never spent the time to say, why? What is it that's actually bothering me? Is it actually the person, or is it actually the environment, or are they just? Because I would say, and maybe I'm sheltered here, but like most of the time, 90-something% of the time, most people are not out there to be mean or cruel or angry. Like they don't know they're bothering me by standing in front of me. They don't even know I'm there. All they care about is that their family is safe. They just traveled. They're standing close to each other. They don't want anybody to, to wander off, and they got to get their bags.
Right.
It's a wild thing to think about, and I keep going back to the same example because it's just a place that does affect me. But everybody has that space. Everybody has that market basket experience, and you got to get your groceries, so you got to go back. So, yeah, I'm glad we had this discussion today. I think that it's hopefully eye-opening for many people. And if you started with no language for it, like you did, or essentially no language for it, that like I did, recognize that that's more normal, especially from a generational standpoint. So if you recognize that, and now you're raising your kids, and you're really labeling everything, and recognize that that's also not necessarily the key point here, right? Labeling it's great, but then what?
Right.
Be cliche, I guess, but help them make space from it.
Right. Don't need to solve anything.
Yeah, just understand that it's part of being human, and if you can make some space, you'll see that the rational behavior afterwards is what you're really after. You're really not after fixing anything. You're just after rational behavior afterwards.
That serves you.
that serves you.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Well, if you want to hear more like this, please check us out on Spotify. Give us an interaction. Not really sure what they have on there. Follow, like, whatever. If you got topics for us, please shoot us a message, and we will catch you next time.